So are we really going to ignore the elephant in the room? And by the elephant in the room, I mean Ghislaine Maxwell is sitting in jail. She's being shuffled, apparently, around the prison in order to ensure that there are no assassination attempts, and is being given paper clothes to ensure she doesn't off herself in some kind of weird way where, like her compatriot, Epstein got suicided, or at the very least committed suicide. How are we pretending Trump doesn't know more than what Trump knows or what Trump has been saying? How are we pretending this? Now, we seen Prince Andrews give an interview on this, and it went disastrously. And it made it extraordinarily clear that Prince Andrews, his level of hubris is breathtaking to believe that he could just nail that going into it on the fly like that. And it was a disastrous outcome. People looked at him as being guilty as sin after that interview. Now, the catch becomes, by the way, the part of that interview where he says, I got so scared in war that my sweat glands evaporated. And so this notion that I sweat a lot, fuck her, I can't sweat. Now that was I know I shouldn't be looking at these interviews at this point in a way of being fascinated, but there are moments of fascination. That was one of them. That's breathtaking. A man saying, I got so terrified in war that I couldn't sweat. And he does this in order to push back on the claim that he sweat heavily. It bugged him. It bugged him. He's a prince, but that's the thing that bugged him. I love that. But Donald Trump has said things and has been caught on video footage saying things that makes it extremely clear, beyond the pale clear, that he knows more than what he says. I would say the same thing with Bill Clinton, but Bill Clinton had the sense to shut his mouth. Donald Trump has not. Washington Post. Donald Trump says this. And this is not being said, Washington Post was recounting it, but I'll just say it. I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy, Trump told the New York Magazine that year for a story headline. Jeffrey Epstein, international money man and mystery. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do. Many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it. Epstein, or Jeffrey, enjoys his social life. Now, Epstein is in a jail cell, charged with sex trafficking, and federal prosecutors to allege he abused dozens of female minors in New York and Palm Beach, Florida. Now, that is a brutal, brutal line. God, I love that line. Because it goes from, this is what Trump said, into context. He said this, talking about a person who was sitting in a prison cell, well, at the time, before he offed himself or got help offing himself. But that's a damning line. Like, that's a horrible line. And I don't mean horrible in the sense of not written poorly. I just mean horrible in the sense of what it means. What it means. Right here. Take a listen to this. This is Trump. Listen to what he says.
That island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool.
Just ask Prince Andrew.
Now, that doesn't look good. What does Trump know, and when did he know it? That island is a cesspool. How do you know that island is a cesspool, Trump? Why are you telling us that? How do you know that? How do you know that? And then for you to wrap in Prince Andrews, that means you have knowledge of something. Otherwise, you wouldn't be dancing around the edges in the way that you're putting this information out. At this point, can we not fuck around? And can we just admit that the President of the United States clearly knows something about this? And honestly, I am more enamored or more shocked that with videos like this, that the media doesn't start asking the president direct questions on the very specific subject of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Prince Andrew. After all, he's the one who name-checked Prince Andrews on this. What do you know about this dealing with Prince Andrew? Why did you bring in Prince Andrew, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? There are a litany of questions that should be asked in association with this, considering the fact that Trump was the one who brought this up. And considering the case that's going on right now, why wouldn't he be asked questions on this? It would be weird if he wouldn't be. If he wouldn't get asked questions on it. That's a shocking video. He knows something. He knows something. He knows something. I'll leave it here. That's just, look, if I'm talking to someone and I bring up, hey, over there with that person, and you can just ask Johnny, and they will tell you how depraved that area is. Now, the first question that looked like would be basically asked is, well, wait a minute, what do you know of it? Why are you telling me to go ask Johnny? I can ask you, because you've just told me it was a cesspool. You should have some knowledge of the fact it's a cesspool, otherwise you wouldn't have used that terminology. What is cesspool, meaning the adjective that you're using, describing, or hiding, I should say. You can't tell me about it if you don't know anything about it. That's kind of the point that I'm getting with this. Why I'm saying that the fact that Trump has said this on more than one occasion about Epstein and young girls, or for that matter, Prince Andrew and that pedophile Allen that apparently Trump has knowledge of. That's major. That's major. Donald Trump needs to be asked questions about this by our media. Why wouldn't he be? And would it not be weird, considering this video coming out, that he wouldn't be? And by the way, considering Epstein offed himself and supposedly, and Maxwell sent him to prison. Like, share, subscribe. I'll hold my breath on whether or not they ask some questions on this. But it looks like it would be the most rational thing in the world to do. What did you know? Why did you say it was a cesspool? What do you know of it that makes it a cesspool? We'll talk about Prince Andrew in a moment, but what do you know of it? Why are you telling us this? It's just a list of questions that just kind of flow from that gets across a certain idea that Trump knows something that Trump is not saying. And the press needs to do its job in exploring that very specific point. Like,